Kilana mine is a very busy part of the railway. There is lots of activity and many different sounds, much less peaceful than the tranquil countryside. One evening, Gunther had arrived to collect the miners. Passing a tall cliff, he couldn't help but notice a strange sound. It sounded like loose rocks were crumbling. Upon stopping, he looked out for Mr. Brennan, but he couldn't be seen. As the miners boarded the coaches, he saw Mortis, so decided to tell him instead.
"The cliff down the line is crumbling. Please tell Mr. Brennan,"
he warned. Mortis thought he was talking nonsense.
"Don't be silly. Cliffs don't crumble,"
he declared. That was Gunther told, but he wasn't so sure. The next morning, he heard the same sound again. Unfortunately, his driver couldn't hear anything due to his chuffing sound.
"Has the cliff crumbled yet?"
teased Mortis from the siding. Despite his best efforts, Gunther knew that Mortis would not believe him. Returning to the sheds, he told Peggy, "I will have a listen tonight when I collect the slate," she promised. That evening, Peggy heard the sound too while passing. "Mortis, please tell Mr. Brennan that the cliff is unsafe," she ordered. Mortis groaned so loudly that it sounded like a roar.
"Different types of sounds are heard in mines. This isn't the countryside, you know,"
he stated. At Colt Harbor, she told her driver.
"I will tell Mr. Brennan tomorrow evening,"
he promised. "As long as tomorrow is not too late," she sighed. The next morning, Mortis was hard at work.
"What's that strange sound? Oh, it's only my wheels turning,"
he joked.
"Best not enter the mine tunnels in case they collapse. It's so quiet, too quiet. There is obviously something wrong."
That evening, Peggy was on her way. The miners were almost finished and looked forward to going home. The crumbling sound escalated, and suddenly a loud noise echoed everywhere. "What was that?" gasped Mr. Brennan. Boarding Mortis, they set off at once to investigate. Arriving at the scene, they were shocked at what lay before them. The trek was blocked by giant rocks.
"The line is blocked, and Peggy's on her way,"
fretted Mr. Brennan.
"Those rocks must have loosened from the cliff. Luckily there wasn't a full landslide."
Mortis shamefully stared at the pile of rubble. He had been warned, but didn't listen. Without hesitation, he confessed to Mr. Brennan. As expected, he was cross, but now was not the time to be angry. They had to stop Peggy from hitting the rocks. Mr. Brennan found a whistle inside Frederick, and as quickly as possible, they returned to the scene. Running down the line, he stood and waited. Soon, the chuffing sound of a steam engine could be heard. Peggy was on her way. Taking a deep breath, Mr. Brennan repeatedly blew the whistle loudly. Peggy's driver assumed they were being warned about something, so applied the brakes at once. They stopped just in time, and right in front of the rocks. Mr. Brennan was as white as a ghost, but overjoyed that Peggy was safe. There was no way that the slate would make the boat. Mortis felt terrible.
I'm sorry I didn't listen to your warning. You almost had a serious accident because of me.
He grumbled. Peggy sighed. At least you have owned up to it. But you must always listen if me or Gunther have something to tell, she said. Mr. Brennan had more bad news. What happened tonight could happen again, so until all is expected, the mine will be closed until further notice, he informed regrettably. With the slate unacceptable, Peggy had no choice but to go home, while Mortis returned to his shed. A few days later, inspections had taken place, and the mine was deemed safe to reopen. Mortis always made sure to listen to any warnings, and most importantly of all, inform Mr. Brennan.